Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone, or good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome to the 43rd of hopefully many episodes of Bardadvice, a D&D slash TTRPG slash nerd culture slash life podcast where I, Charles, Chaz, Yazik, the DM, the Bard, do my best to dispense advice and answer any questions that you might have. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. Interesting that we have a Friday the 13th in October. At the top of the hour, as always, we like to remind everybody to please send all questions, concerns, queries, criticisms, critiques to bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice, if that helps you remember. If you want to get merchandise, you can do so by going over to manshorts.com. And if you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. Also, this week, before we get too far into anything, would like to remind everyone of, or rather introduce everyone for the first time to our sponsor this week, which is RPG Match. RPG Match is an app that connects TTRPG players, so similar kind of to how dating apps work, I guess. You set up a profile, it finds people that are in your area, it gives you a survey where you answer questions about the way that you like to play, so that you can make sure that not only can you find players to play, but you can find players that like to play the way that you do. So if you want to check that out, you can register for free. It's at RPG Match. You can go to the website by clicking the link in the description, or you can go download it on the Google app or rather the Google or Apple Play Store. So go check it out, RPG Match, if you're looking for a way to connect with TTRPG players in your local area, and more importantly, if you want to make sure that those players play similarly to you. Also, at the top of the hour, we like to thank all of our patrons, our members, our super chatters. Thank everybody and remind everyone to please like, comment, subscribe, share, and rate the podcast on your respective platform. It's good for the algorithm. So, happy Friday the 13th. Hope everybody's doing well. Good to see all of the regular fellows. All of the regular crew is here. Happy Friday. For Art Corner this week, I wanted to talk about what I thought was a really good opening for the Frasier Reboot, which is streaming on Paramount Plus. It's a CBS property. I liked it a lot. The first 2 episodes are out. I've read some reviews from people that are really think it's stupid. I think it's great. I mean, what are you going to do? So when it comes to how are you going to tell that story differently than they did, I guess is my question. I think that they did a really good job of setting it up. They've kind of replaced characters that aren't really there anymore. So what's the problem with that? We have a Chris here. I was getting worried. Yeah. So I recommend it. If you're a fan of Frasier, if you were a fan of the original series, if you were a fan of Cheers, I think it's really cool. The premise is essentially that he's back in Boston and he is kind of working on his relationship, his estranged relationship with his son, Frederick. And while I don't know if David Hyde Pierce is going to be in there at all as Niles, a character that is supposed to be Niles and Daphne's son or Frasier's nephew is in there. Hilarious. And I don't know. I think it looks promising. I don't know why people cut it up so much. I don't know what they were expecting, but I highly recommend it, the new Frasier. And before we get into any big questions this week, it's not really Art Corner, more of a sports corner, but just because I'm excited about it. Jags got another win in London against the Bills, and I did not think that we were going to win that game. I actually had it slated as a loss, but hey, we got it done. And same kind of thing. Although the offense did look better, it can look better. So hopefully that continues to improve. And we've got the Colts at home this week. And we've already beaten them before. And Anthony Richardson is not playing. Gardner Minshew is. But for all of those reasons, I'm afraid this might be a trap game. So hopefully next week we're not lamenting the loss against the Colts at home, because that would be disastrous. Not gonna lie, most of your interest in the reboot died when you found out that they didn't have most of the OG cast. True. Yeah, Frasier's really really the only carryover, but I mean, it's about him. You know? I don't know. I've always just been a fan of Frasier, the character. He was one of my favorites on Cheers. It's why I liked the show. And granted, Niles and Martin and the other characters, Braz, were a great part of that show, but I don't know. It's about Frasier. So, you know? Maybe the Jags should move to London. No. No. Don't say it. That's been a long time coming, the idea of that happening. And obviously the NFL is playing more games overseas now in places like England and Germany. So let's not even speak on the performance of the Cowboys. Oh yeah. If you're a Cowboys fan, you probably don't want to speak about that. All right, let's get into it because we've got questions tonight to get through. So, starting from the beginning, since that's the best place to start. According to my list of names, this first question is from Javi. And Javi asks, "Help. Playing my first 5e Bard. We just leveled up and I have to pick a college. I read through them, but not sure which to pick. For reference, I'm a level 3 half-elf Bard with an 18 charisma and a party of 6. We have 2 barbarians, so our DM tends to throw lots of enemies at us at once. Well, yeah. So I want to focus on crowd control spells and abilities. Which college should I pick? Thanks very much." Well, thank you for the question, Javi. Glad to see that you're playing a Bard for the first time, at least a 5e Bard. So, crowd control. Well, I wrote down the schools, and we'll go through them. We'll hear what people say in chat. I'm seeing lots of lore, but I don't know. So, there's 7 main ones, yeah? Eloquence, creation, glamour, swords, whispers, valor, lore. I mean, obviously there's more. An expanded universe, right? There's like the spirits college, which is like kind of like a wild magic thing. But based on what I know about the colleges in 5e, I would say if you're looking for crowd control to go with something like eloquence or glamour. Because crowd control can look different, right? There can be multiple different ways you can do crowd control, but I think with like glamour and eloquence, and I put the links to the information on those in the description. Lore bards are best. Yeah, I think that lore probably gives you the most overall utility, but I can't remember if it's eloquence or glamour that essentially gives you the ability to just charm people. It's like a multiple charm person spell or something. What about your best bards? Creation can be good for crowd control if you're creative. True. Yeah. I think that for me, I have down that, you know, eloquence and glamour are probably best for crowd control. I have creation as more of like a damage and defense, like utility casting. Swords is more about damage. Whispers is more about damage. Valor is kind of versatile. Lore's a lot about damage. I don't know. With a big party, 2 tanks, probably got a mage or a sorcerer, a cleric, a fighter. Yeah, that's true. It's hard knowing without who else is in the party. Lore gives you magical secrets early. Oh, okay. That's true. Ba-bum-bum-bum. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So probably lore first then, huh? And then maybe glamour and eloquence as background or as backups. It depends on what you want to do specifically, because I know that, heck, I guess I can just pull up the stream myself, huh? Can I do that and then just click on the, yeah, I can do that. So eloquence, it's universal speech. At 6th level, you've gained the ability to make your speech intelligible to any creature. As an action, choose 1 or more creatures within 60 feet of you up to your charm mod. The chosen creatures can magically understand you regardless of the language you speak. That's pretty busted. That. But, I mean, I guess all the level 6 stuff is. You confused the Whispers Bard and called it Secrets Bard. Whoopsie. If the party doesn't have a rogue, you could go with Whispers. Glamour's original version is best for controlling folks and charming. Yeah. D&D. Glamour. Glamour. School. Mantle of Majesty. You gain the ability to cloak yourself in Fey magic. Oh, enthralling performance. Yeah, you could choose a number of humanoids within 60 feet who watch or listen to it, up to a number equal to your Cha mod. Each target must receive a wisdom saving throw, DC, or by charm by you. When charmed in this way, the target idolizes you. It speaks glowingly of you to anyone who speaks to it, and hinders anyone who opposes you. Yo, that's at 3rd level. I don't know. I feel like I'm landing on lore and glamour as the top 2, and then maybe eloquence. But the chat seems to be heavy on lore. It might be the move. I mean, for the magical secrets, but also just the general versatility. If you want to see a lore bard in action, Sam Riegel's portrayal of Scanlan Shorthalt, who was a lore bard, was epic. The ideal setup would have an artifact that boosts your range and raises your spell DC, and go with what works best in the situation. Well, there you go, Javi. Those are 3, I think, that you can kind of take your pick from. I don't think you can go wrong really with any of them. I would really say between the 2, between lore and glamour, I think are going to be your best shots. So, thank you for the question. Hopefully you got something out of there. Let's move on to the next one, because we do have, 6 questions and a follow-up this evening, and then I want to do some chat, so we've got some work to do. But this next question is from Alan. And Alan asks, hello, I came across your shorts, which led me to binging Bard Advice, and I'm just about at 40. I know there's a lot more content to consume, but outside of being an old head who's never played D&D, only Magic the Gathering and HeroScape, hell yeah, HeroScape, is there a way I can just create characters for others to play? I'm pretty good at concepts and designs, but no one to play with. I'm working on Alistair Peppercorn. He's an old turtle who has narcolepsy, so he often falls asleep or wakes up ready to cast thinking he's being attacked. Wondering your take on this. Oh, man. Well, thank you for the question, Alan. I love that idea. I think that sounds cool as hell. Alistair Peppercorn? That's undoubtedly Studebaker's great-uncle or grandfather or something, right? Certainly. Because Studebaker is forgetful. He doesn't really know what's going on. So it would stand that there would be kind of a history of a character with a turtle with narcolepsy. It's kind of hilarious. And then I'm just imagining him waking up just like, ah, and just like throwing a fireball. That's, talk about a liability to the party. I think that's an awesome idea. And as far as like, can you just make characters? Sure. I think that D&D Beyond sort of has a bit of a platform for that, right? You can share things on there with other people and they can look at it and stuff. And I know that that's the case on like World Anvil. And I'm sure a lot of places where you could build characters, they have kind of forums that you could put out there. You could also consider building a bunch of them and then maybe publishing it as a supplemental book. That could be cool. So you just like build a bunch of different PCs, or rather, you know, characters that could serve as PCs or NPCs. And just kind of release a book of all the characters. That'd be pretty neat. I was thinking an old ancient tortoise. There are tons of free and not free character builders. Yeah, I mean, you could use D&D Beyond, but I mean, if you're an older player who, or rather, like, you know, if you're someone with more experience in playing, you probably don't need any kind of builder. You could just do it yourself. But reminds me of Rowan Atkinson's character in Rat Race. Oh man, what a throwback, dude. First of all, Rowan Atkinson is a treasure, but I had completely forgotten about not only that movie, but his role in that movie. That movie also is such a window in time. The kind of stuff that's going on in that movie is just so like 2000 or whatever, because I know it came out right around there, like 98 to like 01, and it's just such that time. An NPC compilation could be useful too. Yeah, no doubt. Not only for players to play, but for DMs, right? That'd be great for DMs. DMs are usually kind of short on NPCs too. Dang, maybe I'll make an NPC compilation, a compendium supplement. So Rat Race worth watching. Yeah, I mean, I've 2001, yeah. I'd rather use pen and paper because you can add notes with the setup and stuff. Yeah, most definitely. The sheer amount of acting talent in that movie. It is a pretty stacked cast. If you look at it. Hold on, now I'm going to look it up. See, this is what happens on this show. We get distracted. But now I got to see who's in this movie because it's like, how did they afford this? Rowan Atkinson, John Cleese, Cuba Gooding Jr., Whoopi Goldberg, Breckin Meyer, John Lovitz. I mean, I guess the short answer is that these people took pay cuts to be part of it because it's supposed to be like a retelling of Mad World, right? It's a Mad World. Wayne Knight, Amy Smart, Dean Cain. Dean Cain, Superman? Yeah. Seth Green, Kathy Najimy. How did they pay for all these people? And I mean, they needed money for budget, really? Well, maybe not. I don't know. I have to watch it again. Maybe they could check on a catchphrase or some quotes to help DMs flavor. Now someone will make all the characters from Rat Race into DD characters. Hey, there's probably some good ones in there. But the short answer, Alan, is yes. You can definitely just make characters for others to play and release them and put them out there. And that to that point, like maybe we should start something like that here where it's like a character corner. Have we talked about that before? Maybe having like a, people send in their characters. And speaking of which, I have a Midjourney subscription for what that's worth. I mean, I'm not, great at it, but I all of the backgrounds and stuff for this podcast I make on there. And so to that point, like, might be able to figure out how to like use it as a way to create characters so that we kind of bring characters to life. That'd be kind of a fun segment to do. If not every week, once every couple of weeks or so. Just people sending in characters. Yeah, do that. Send characters to bardadvice@gmail.com. And I encourage you to make them. And make like a book. That'd be cool. All right. So, thank you for the question, Alan. Hopefully you got an answer in there somewhere. Oh, and one last thing, by the way. You mentioned that you don't have many people to play with. Check out RPG Match. It's free to register. Just click a link in the description, RPG Match. Go check that place out because, hey, maybe you can find somebody in your local area to play. Use Night Cafe to make your DMPC. Oh, cool. All right, so next question. Moving right along. Oh, and before I forget about it, Alistair Peppercorn, please stat that out. Please send me that, and I'll look into making images of those characters and the ones that exist already. All right, so the next question is from Michael. And Michael asks, hello, Bard. You talked about Robert Zelanczy's A Night in Lonesome October. I was hoping you could recommend some other chilling Halloween-themed books or short stories to read. Also, are we getting another Halloween episode this year? Thanks for all the content, and keep up the pod. It makes for an easier commute. Well, thank you for the question, Michael. So, yes, we are doing another Halloween episode this year. I try to do them as often as possible, so we will be it'll be Halloween Part 6. Interestingly enough, it'll be a continuation of another episode that's coming this week on Sunday. And then we'll have a short kind of a break where I'm going to do kind of a spooky compilation for the actual week of Halloween. And then I think we're going to do the Trade Saga the week after. And then we'll be jumping into the new set of episodes to finish the year out. And I think that we might be starting the third overarching campaign for the episodes. I don't know that for sure, but we're going to see. Now, Roger, not Robert. Oh, it's Roger. Okay. Well, I put a list down. And let's see, anybody have anything in chat. Great Grandpa Alistair. Yeah, no doubt. Well, that's the cool thing too, I think, about the Peppercorn family is they can kind of like exist in any, time frame. So I think that's real cool. So yeah, Halloween 6 is coming. Halloween episode part 6, not this week, but next week. And the original piece of the question was books. So anybody in chat, give out recommendations for books, spooky books and stories. I have a list here myself. I put down anything Edgar Allan Poe, anything Stephen King, notably The Shining. The Shining is scary as hell. And It as well, but it's like 1,000 pages. Carrie, Pet Sematary. And then one of the more recent ones that I read, I actually listened to it on audiobook. And I say recent, it's been a couple years, but The Bazaar of Bad Dreams. That's a banger book of short stories by King that are spooky. And then Interview with the Vampire, Psycho, the book, which is pretty scary. And stuff like The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, like classic stuff, Frankenstein, Dracula, and also The Invisible Man. Let me tell you about The Invisible Man. That book is like 130 pages. You can read it in like a weekend. And whoo-wee. I mean, you could read it in a day if you wanted to, but I'm not in the reading Olympics. It's a short read, and it is scary, I think. Just like putting yourself in that kind of situation. I don't know, just the way it's written is really good. Slightly off topic, the first 5 episodes of the new Goosebumps show just dropped on Disney today. Oh, yeah. Yeah, what's that about? A Goosebumps show? All right, hold on. The Damnation Game by Clive Barker. Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Oh, I forgot about Salem's Lot. Anything by Lovecraft. Nosferatu by Joe Hill. Oh, yeah, Lovecraft. And H.G. Wells, too. Even The Time Machine's kind of scary. Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Nightmares and Dreamscapes? Is that Stephen King short story book? A lot of those are really good. The Stand. Yeah. Any of that kind of stuff. Oh, and you know who else? Michael Crichton. And what is the name of that? Peter Straub. Peter Straub, because he's worked with Stephen King. And he has written some pretty scary stuff by himself. One that comes to mind is Coco. So, yeah. Those are some good things. Needful things. I recommend Poe, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Tommyknockers, The Langoliers, H.P. Lovecraft. Scary stories to tell in the dark and more scary stories to tell in the dark. Speaking of Frankenstein, I heard that Guillermo's going to be remaking it. Or rather, I guess, making his own interpretation. Which is kind of exciting, I think. He said that it's 50 years in the making. So I assume that means he's always wanted to do it. But my go-to is American Gods. Any of those I think you'll find to be pretty scary. So hopefully you find something in there. Lockwood and Company. All right. Let's keep it moving. Fire in the Sky. Oh, is that a book? I didn't realize that. Actually, it totally follows that it's a book. Or rather, that it was a book. Was it a book first? Yeah, it must have been. That movie scared the crap out of me. That one scene in particular. All right, let's keep cranking. Cabinet of Curiosities was okay. Yeah, I only saw a couple of them. It's kind of hit or miss. That's kind of the case with a lot of, I think, Stephen King's interpretations onto film. Not lately. I think the last couple of things have been good. Like, I liked the It movies. But, you know, sometimes it's like, what? Sometimes it's kind of weird. The Castle Rock show was kind of was cool at first, and it was kind of weird. I don't know. If you're scared of bad writing, I heard Twilight might be scary. That's so funny. I actually picked up that book one time just to like read a little bit of it and was like, whoa. It was like, I was like, is the whole thing like this? How about Atlas Shrugged? All right. So, next question we've got is, this is actually one that I'm really excited about. This is from, I believe this is correct, from Manus the Mad DM. So this is cool, and I'm excited to talk about this. And chat, keep your ears at the ready, because this is going to be neato. All right, ready? Here we go. Manus asks, hello, Yazzik. Been a huge fan of your music for years, and just found Bard Advice. I'm a forever DM, but it doesn't stop me from dreaming up characters on the off chance I get to play. I'm looking for help on how to play a character. I would like to play a Warforged wizard on a time crunch. The Warforged was gifted sentience by the goddess of magic and given an arcane battery that holds a certain amount of magical essence. The idea is this PC can only cast a certain amount of leveled spells during the campaign before he's out of magic and falls inert, dying. I've thought about a lot of neat story beats with this kind of character, like finding more power cores or arcana cells, or dipping into a martial class to save his last few spells to fight what feels like the biggest threat. Every DM is different, but how would you approach this? Thanks in advance. Wow, okay, cool. So I think that is a super cool idea. Now, how would I approach this as a player, or how would I approach it as a DM? I think that either way, I would focus on what you said, what you noted to the power cores or the arcana cells. So if I had a player that was running that in my campaign, one of the things that I would do is, well, okay, you have to answer some questions first. So I'm going to answer your question with some questions that I think will help you answer your question. Savvy? Does the Warforged... where is the Warforged starting in terms of its self-awareness? Is the Warforged aware that it has a limited amount of time? And does it want to do anything to stop that? Does it have its own free will? Or is it very much just a golem that is designed to, it's essentially like a spell bot that's designed to go out there and do stuff until it's out of magic, and then that's it. So also, what else do the cores do? So first of all, I love the phrase or the term Arcane Battery. That's going to be the name of this episode because I just think it's such a cool sound. That said, to fuel this Arcane Battery, you need power cores or arcana cells. What else do those do? And what is their relationship to the rest of the world as far as how valuable or rare they are? And there's a number of ways that you could go about it. So you could run the character as a pacifist. If I were playing this as a player, you could run the character as a pacifist to try and stay low key and avoid conflict. Because to your point, he's only got so much. This Warforged wizard only has so much magic. So they're not just going to be casting spells left and right. How does that work? What is the mechanic or the system rather for how that works with like spell slots? So are there actual numbers? Are there actual limitation of numbers to, you can cast 900 level 1 spells. And to that point, is that number, is that finite amount of magic essence, is the waning of that, is the loss of that determined on the strength of the spell? Because it kind of should be. So, like, I guess what I'm saying is, if he's got, like, 100 spells that he can cast, how many does it count against if he counts if he casts a cantrip? Any? And if that's the case, then why wouldn't he just cast Eldritch Blast all the time? Well, I guess it's a wizard, not a warlock, but still. You know what I'm saying? Like, do cantrips factor into this in any way? And also, to your point about dipping into a martial class for, ways for this Warforged to defend itself or try and use magic as little as possible, that could be a really cool plot hook with players, as that could be a whole buddy cop scenario. You could set up a little partnership with, the barbarian or the fighter or, anybody that can handle themselves, even the rogue. And that would be a really fun RP thing to do, because it could just be like, oh yeah, well, for the RP aspects of it, right? Like, you could actually dip a level into whatever that class is. But for RP, you could just work it out to where it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to hang out with Krong, the barbarian, and he's going to teach me a few things to how to defend myself so I don't have to use my magic. Let me see what chat is saying. A goblin thief that stole a wizard's amulet that allows him to change others into random animals. Gnomes on bicycles. Can the artificer back engineer them and create fresh ones? Oh, man. And how are they made? Avram asks, I guess, about the power cores and the arcane cells. Yeah, I think that the idea is awesome. I think that fleshing out the mechanics of that stuff, and, that's something that you would kind of have to do with the DM. At a minimum, if you had it planned out in the beforehand, you would need to, like, run that by the DM. But as a DM, I would focus on that aspect, because you got to think, like, not only... because ultimately the Warforged has full control as to whether they cast a spell or not. So they can just opt to not cast a spell, which is why I brought up the idea of, running the RP idea of the Warforged maybe being a pacifist, or somebody who just kind of generally tries to stay low-key and out of stuff because they don't want to have to put themselves in a position where they're going to have to use spells. But from the mechanical standpoint, if I'm the DM, I'm looking at ways that I can damage your existing arcane battery. I'm looking for ways that, maybe you find a power cell and then somebody steals it in the night. Maybe you have a power cell on you that you're not using and somebody else wants to steal it. So there's a conflict there. And maybe you could, and in that situation, you might decide, like, well, I could give this up, because this person is saying that they're going to attack me if I don't give it to them. I think there's a lot of RP stuff that you can do there. To help save the arcane battery life, I'd look into getting some wands and other magic items that can cast spells. Makes me think of Fallout 4, where the fusion cores ran most everything as a power source. Most spelljammers are fueled by maybe spelljammers are fueled by arcane batteries. How does leveling up work with the cores? Do you get more core space, or is it unlimited from the start? Oh, that's a really cool point, too. Like, when it comes to leveling, maybe that's part of it, right? Like, maybe, theoretically speaking, even though the amount of spells is limited, or the amount of essence of the character, essentially, is limited, is there a way to raise that ceiling prior to its expiring, right? So it's like, oh, well, you can cast 1,000 spells. It's like, well, at the moment, this character could only cast like 100. But would there be antagonists who want the arcane batteries? A smart martial class would understand the benefits of teaching a caster how to look after themselves a bit. The biggest problem with linking the arcane batteries to your spell is how your daily spell slots are explained. But with some tweaks, it could be made to work. Something like the battery gives a certain number of days of life instead. Yeah, you could also tie it to rests, right? So when it comes to the battery stuff, like if you don't want to worry about how many spells, then you could just do it where it's like, okay, well, you only have X amount of rests, which that kind of covers all of the bases, right? Because you would assume that you would be able to cast all of the spells that you can cast before needing a rest. So that puts a bit of structure around it. Maybe in return, the caster could give the martial class a little magical knick-knack. 200 temporary hit points with no regular ones. You lose 1 per level spell cast, or 1d4 -3 for cantrips. Huh. If DM or player can think of an interesting alternate solutions, like what if the Warforged or a teammate learns the spell reincarnation or some other way of losing the weakness, but at some cost? The law of equal exchange. Yeah, most definitely. I think, too, leaving a window open for that, right? So maybe there is a potential. Maybe it can even come down to like a deal with that goddess, where that goddess pops it. This feels more warlock. Yeah, it does, kind of. It does. I think that would be another piece of advice. It's like, make him a warlock. Make it a Warforged warlock. That rolls better off than Warforged wizard anyway. Yeah, it's a Warforged warlock with an arcane battery. That sounds so cool. Rechargeable batteries. The more you recharge, the quicker it degrades. Hey, just like real life. Yeah, it's just like a vape or like a phone or something. It's just like every time you recharge it, it gets worse. Where are we with the dice? I don't have any specific dates, but they're coming. They're in the process of being manufactured. And once we get a little closer to the date, then I'll release like images of them and stuff. So the higher the level, the less you can cast. Yeah. But that's kind of already the case with how spells work anyway. That's why I think if you tied it to rest, you could kind of cover all your bases. A Warforged wizard with limited spells is just a Warforged wizard. All wizards are limited in the number of spells they can cast. True, but this Warforged would be limited to the number of spells it could cast in the sense that it would die upon running out. So there would be kind of a chase to keeping it. I think of that art display of the hydraulic arm cleaning up its motor oil that's spilling out from it constantly. It's kind of like that. So as the DM and as the player, I would focus stuff around the Arcane Battery. I think that that's where all your lore is going to come from, all your decision making. And if you do it on the rests, then I think that makes it easier. Warforged Warlock could work since they could find a way to renew the cores by providing contracts for his patron. Yeah, no doubt. And that's a thing that you could work out with RP if you wanted to, too, like with the goddess. So, you know, the goddess gifted him sentience, and the Arcane Battery holds a certain amount. So it's not necessarily to say that the goddess expected this Warforged to die, so much as it just gave it a limited Arcane Battery and maybe put it in charge of getting a new one, or upgrading, or expanding, or prolonging. To be honest, it sounds like it might require a subclass, a homebrew subclass. Yeah, it just might. But I like it. I think it's really cool. And hopefully there's some insight in there somewhere. All right. We have 2 more questions and a follow-up. And then we'll do a little bit of chat. Friday the 13th, huh? Of course it's in October. According to the list of names, this next question is from... Well, now, did I do it in the correct order? Nope, I didn't. This question's from Whitney. Whitney asks, big fan of the D&D episodes, bigger fan of the bardadvice podcast. My question doesn't involve D&D, but rather the Netflix live-action adaptation of One Piece. I haven't watched it yet, and I wonder, how does the live-action series handle the humor and unique character interactions? Do you think it captures the spirit of the manga/anime for new and old fans alike? All right, thank you for the question. What are you, a reporter for the new? Do I think that it captures the original, the spirit of the original? I mean, yeah, I loved it. Okay, I think the people's beef comes in. There's obviously major changes that have been made, mostly for time, when it comes to the One Piece live action. You know, they were given 8 episodes to tell their story, and I personally think they did a really impressive job doing it. Stuff got shifted around, obviously. If you know anything about One Piece, in the live action, Garp is, Luffy's grandfather Garp is involved from the beginning. And that's done purposefully. That wasn't obviously the case in the anime or the manga, but Oda is aware of that because he made it. So Oda was very involved with the production of the show. And when you think about it, it kind of makes sense that Garp would be following Luffy from the beginning. Really. Also, some minor changes in, I don't know, just kind of how it's happening, because there's the major storyline going on with Kobe, which is typically you experience that through covers. And that actually plays like a large chunk, probably a third of these first 8 episodes. And then the rest of it, of course, is just essentially East Blue. The way that I describe it is it's the East Blue of the East Blue. So it's just a shortened version of the shortened version of those first 150 chapters or whatever before we get onto the Grand Line, with introducing the main crew members. The only character that I really had any type of beef with was Usopp. And it's only because the kid that plays Usopp is like so attractive and has so much swag and is so cool. And so it's hard for me. There's a bit of a disconnect with me like recognizing that as Usopp, because Usopp is like Jughead. Usopp is like a goober. He's like a clown. And the guy that plays him in the show is like, he's just cool without trying to be. So that's a bit of a suspension of disbelief I have to have there, where it's like, okay. But other than that, Luffy, Inaki Godoy's performance as Luffy is just so good. He's Luffy. He's Luffy. Now, I don't know about if you've watched the dub. If you're somebody that's only watched the anime and you've only watched it dub, you might not even like Luffy, because I've heard the Luffy English dub, and wow. As opposed to, not to be a snob, but I just prefer to watch anime dub, or sub rather. And I don't know, Luffy's awesome. So I think that you should give it a try. I mean, at least watch the first episode and just see how you feel, because I think that they did really great with the limited time that they had. They put a lot of life into it and a lot of love into it. Like, they built all this stuff. They built these ships. They built the Baratier. That's huge. They built the Going Merry. That's so cool. And then also, it's nice because we're kind of, obviously CGI is improving on a regular basis, but I feel like in 2023, we are in a place now where we can do the CGI that is necessary without it looking silly. So, obviously, to the point of Luffy with his rubber arms and such. You're just waiting for him to introduce Frankie and Brooke. Yeah, I know. And I'm also wondering about how they're going to do Chopper. I really wish that they would just do like a Detective Pikachu for Chopper, but I'm like really worried that they're going to like make it a human. And I don't know how I feel about that. But casting was questionable visually, except Nami seemed good. I think the acting was good considering the shortened script and how difficult it is to act like those over-the-top characters. Live-action One Piece is greatly appreciated, much in the same way the Lord of the Rings movie are appreciated, because they just get to the damn point. True, yeah. And like I said, it's like an East Blue of East Blue. So, the East Blue movie did in 90 minutes or however long it is, 2 hours, what it took 100 episodes or 100 chapters to do. And the Netflix live action did it in 8 episodes. And it's all cool as hell. And the good thing about One Piece is that there's something for everybody. And that's definitely the case even with the live action. My wife loved it. And she is not somebody that's like gung-ho into anime and nerd stuff. You know, my wife's, she's into like art and history and period pieces. And so, but she loved it. And it's just because it's just a good story. You know, there's a reason that it's so popular. What was that movie with the ninja dragging a coffin? What? Tank Girl. Not into One Piece and you still liked it. Yeah, and I see that. That's kind of a trend I've seen where it's like people that weren't even really into it. And then people that... There's going to be some changes. So don't go in thinking that it's going to be a shot for shot. And if you see something that's different, just know that, like, you know, Oda was really involved. So any kind of changes that were made for a reason. So, thank you for the question, Whitney. This last question of the evening, as you might expect, because could we have an episode without a question from Chris? Probably not. This one's from Chris. Hi, diddly-ho, Chazarino. It's another question from the Guild of Chris. So you've mentioned on different occasions some of your favorite PCs you've played, but I was curious, what is your least favorite character you've played and why? P.S. Loved Baldur's Gate Edition, and thank you for making it the least spoiler-filled thing I've seen about it, as I patiently wait for it to hit Xbox, lol. Well, thank you for the question, Chris. Sorry that you're having to wait for it to hit Xbox. What are they doing? Does Microsoft not know how popular this game is? How beloved this game is? What is the deal? I don't know what the holdup is, but get it together, Xbox. And hey, while we're at it, let's get crossplay going. Can we please? All right. Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, so least favorite character. Well, my first one immediately comes to mind. I realized that this is a difficult question, and it didn't seem so at first. Like, when I first read it, I was like, oh, well, that'll be easy. And then when I actually sat down to think about it and answer it, I was like, well, I haven't really played a lot of characters that I don't like. Particularly after that bad run-in with my first character, the Paladin, who's forced to be lawful good, and I immediately violated my oath and lost all of my stuff, and so chaotic neutral from now until forever. But there have been some others that, even though I can't think of specifically, probably characters that I've run in one-shots where, I don't know, I thought that this was maybe a cool builder idea or this was a cool character to pick. Like, a lot of times if I pick a pre-selected character, it doesn't go very well. Although, it occurs to me that both Verena Shadowstep and Augustus Montgomery from the Wii Play, I didn't make either of those. Those were submitted by people. I mean, obviously, I gave them their character traits and such, but their stats and such, their sheets, I did not build. So, but I loved both of those characters. New Airbender trailer. Pretty sure a question from Chris is universal constant at this point. I'm thinking the way they did the main characters from the Warriors of Virtue might work for Chopra. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, man. There's another throwback. Warriors of Virtue. All right, hold on. Let's see what chat's saying. My least favorite character I played is easy. Don't remember the name, but was a Celestial Patron Warlock. The game was morally gray, and I wasn't told, so the character ended up way too rigid. Oh, man, yeah, that sounds not fun. It'd be nice when it does, even if I wanted to try to get my credit laptop to run it. Someone dumped water on it and didn't tell me. Oh, no. Sorry to hear that. When do we know when it's coming? Is there any kind of release date, or are they just like, it's coming soon? For the Eberron promo season, I made a Paladin. Turns out every module was sneaking and steal stuff, which for a heavy armored dual wielder was the wrong idea. Oh, that's really annoying. We should build a character on stream. You know, hey, that could be part of the whole, like, character corner deal. Maybe we start doing that, where it's... And, you know, I guess we could do it with Baldur's Gate 3 if we wanted to, or we could just do it on D&D Beyond. I don't know. I'll think about it. The holdup is that Microsoft doesn't own Baldur's Gate the same way it owns Starfield. Oh. I'm so silly. How did I forget about that? No wonder. They're a little bit busy. Unfavorite. Trying to play in the genre I'm unfamiliar with. Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, I've played some games like TTRPGs that aren't D&D. Although, that's less of a dig on the character and more of the system, I guess. Because, like, I've played stuff like Cthulhu, where it's just like, it's not so much that I didn't like it, so much as that it's like, could have been more fun. And again, there's more that goes into it than just one thing. Should roll up the character. Warriors of Virtue. Yeah, that is a throwback. That's a movie I forgot completely existed. They're like kangaroos, right? And they all have they're all like an element or something. When my character died unexpectedly, the DM ended up forcing me to play one ghouls serving the vampires in the feudal era setting. At first I hated it, but ended up being one of my favorites. Made and played at least 1,000 characters. Yeah, probably. Probably something close to that. I've got a bunch just sitting around that I forgot about completely. Betty Weatherby was a fun character. There's been like, I think I ran a monk one time that was just kind of like lackluster. I think I ran a druid once that was kind of... Actually, yeah, recently, within a couple of years, there was a character I ran named Taurian Tangleroot. And just, it didn't end up being as cool as I thought. It was like, he was like an alchemist who made poisons and was an archer. And I and Justin was DMing that game. I like came up with this whole system with him on how like it'd be like a percentile roll for certain potions, and then they all, those had the potions had their save DCs and stuff, or poisons rather had their save DCs, but I don't know, it just wasn't as cool as I had imagined it would be, I guess. So many characters that became NPCs. Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's like the Bob Ross, like, happy little mistakes. It's like, if you make a PC that you don't like, just make it an NPC. Throw it in that book of NPCs that Alan's going to be making. Back to kangaroos. Oh, the tank girl method for Chopper. Yeah, my friend Justin is convinced that they're just going to get like a kid to do it. And then just do like, then they could just do like a reindeer for the, I don't know what Chopper's even going to look like, but I do see that Jamie Lee Curtis is signed on for being the doc. Call a Cthulhu session where every PC is some manifestation of a Danny DeVito character. Yo, I call dibs on the penguin. Isn't he in a commercial? I feel like I just saw Danny DeVito in a commercial. That guy's so funny. Once made an engineer in a D&D game set in Sanctuary from Diablo. I thought I was going to get to be an engineer, but ended up being a weak fighter instead and died before doing much. Oh, man. Yeah, and I've had a lot of characters die. Because I tend to, do stuff I'm not supposed to. Games. The Frank Reynolds version. Yeah, so anyway, I start blasting. Just like that guy as a warlock. That iteration of Danny DeVito's character Frank Reynolds from that episode as a warlock. Most definitely. So anyway, I started casting Eldritch Blast. All right. So, thank you for the question, Chris. We've got a follow-up here, and then we can do a little chat before we get out of here. So, this follow-up is from Taylor, and this question is from quite a while back. It was a few months ago, but where is this thing? Okay, here we go. And Taylor asks, or rather says, "Hey Chaz, just wanted to give you an update on a question I sent several episodes back. My boyfriend had been encouraging me to play D&D, but I had some reservations. I asked for the best selling points. Freedom and player customization caught my ear, so I gave it a shot. Anyway, we're 3 sessions in, and I love it. I'm a wood elf druid who's mostly quiet, but for the occasional riddle. His name's Herbert. Anyway, thanks for the advice. Well, you are quite welcome, Taylor. Thank you for the follow-up. I'm glad to hear that you played, and even more so that you enjoyed it. A druid named Herbert. You can't go wrong there. That's fun. And good for you for giving it a try. I remember this question, and I remember that you'd said that you'd expressed some reservations about, like RP and just playing in general, because it's so funny, by the way, that you're a druid, because I just remembered, I think that part of that question was that you were someone who played Breath of the Wild as one of your main RPGs that you like to play. So that's kind of funny. I mean, I guess that it would have been even more on the nose if you were a ranger. But druid's close enough. And yeah, druid is a good choice for a quiet type. Yeah, well, the lore, being connected to the animals and the trees and stuff. So penguin Okay, hold on. We're all of a sudden we're building Danny DeVito D&D, which listen, I am not opposed to that. So the penguin, Danny character from the movie Twins, his character from Taxi, yeah, Louis De Palma from Taxi, Frank Reynolds from Sunny, and from Matilda. What else is there? Oh, you got to get One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest Danny DeVito in there for sure. I'm running a Halloween one-shot based after Werewolf by Night movie. Well, Werewolf by Night. And now I'm changing Bloodstone on one of the coffins into Danny DeVito. Yo, dude, that's so funny. Was Danny DeVito on my list of celebrities that I would want to play D&D with? I don't remember. He might have been. What did I do? Mostly I'm reading chat. His character from The Greatest Showman is a bard. Is he in The Greatest Showman? No. Oh, in the Lorax. Oh man, now I gotta look it up. Now I gotta see like his whole deal. Oh man. Oh dude, and he's Phil in Hercules. He's in Romancing the Stone. He's in so much stuff where it's just like, what? Oh, Throw Mama from the Train. Junior. Mars Attacks. There's a throwback. Yeah. I think we got the main ones, though. But, yeah, 100% a Danny DeVito D&D. Dumbo. Oh, yeah. I never saw the new one, I don't think. Maybe I saw a piece of it, and it made me sad. And so I was just like, well, I'm not going to watch that. In case anybody didn't notice, we're in chat because we're just talking about D&D and Danny DeVito. Excellent guess from Context Clues. DeVito would be good playing so many different PCs and NPCs in D&D. Yeah, that's true. I think, too, now this makes me want to make, like, a video that just kind of breaks down, like, Danny DeVito as all of the different D&D classes. Good things of the week. Good things of the week. What do we got? Anything? Anybody? What's good stuff for the week for people out there? Let's see. I'm excited this week. Jag's got a win. The new Frasier's out and making progress on the album. Not really anything specific, I guess, that's great, but fix the in-laws van, that's good. New D&D series, roles from celebrity actors. You pick an actor and all the players base their characters on a role they played. That could be fun. That could be fun to do like a celebrity through line. Got some much needed rain. Started a D&D campaign on Thanksgiving Monday. Thanks. Oh, that's right. The Canadians. You guys are already doing Thanksgiving. We don't have Thanksgiving here for like another 6 weeks. It's not until the end of November for us. We call it Danny and DeVito. Your good things are you got 25 PvP kills in New World as a tank, and you have a monthly D&D game tomorrow. Nice. Played last night. Party fought some Cloakers and Umber Hulks. That's fun. You don't know if you can watch new Frasier without Dad or Daphne. It is really hard without Marty because that guy was so funny. But I just like Frasier a lot. So, you know, if you feel like you might need the supporting cast, then you might you might fall into that camp of people like on the USA Today article I read earlier that was just like totally trashing it. But I like Frasier specifically a lot, so I can deal. Leah got you entitled with the D&D. Wait a minute. DeVito and Dragons. Ah, okay. Danny and DeVito. DeVitos and Dragons. I do like the DeVitos and Dragons. Seems to be. Danny DeVito versus Joe Pesci. Oh, dude. Yeah, how have they not worked more together? Is there not a producer in Hollywood that was like, put those two together? Huh. Got some exploding kittens with some coworkers. Got to play some exploding kittens with some coworkers the other day. That's fun. What character of DeVito's would be the cleric? Probably the one from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Set up an offshoot of your primary game where the players will be playing spies working for their main characters. Whoa, that's fun. Maybe they're both too much to be together on the same stage. Gilbert Gottfried. Oh my gosh. Today you got your certificate 1 year with the company you work for. Nice. Well done. That's good. Yeah, I'd say it's been a pretty good week, and it's finally starting to get cool, which is nice because, you know, in Florida it's always like 100 degrees, so. And my buddy and Justin, our fearless director, has been out in Arizona filming, and boy, he says it's hot. It's finally started to get a little cool here, although I will say it's back and forth. Like, you know, it'll be 50, and then you'll wake up and it'll be 86. It's just like, what? Swing a hammer like 500 plus times this morning. I'm grateful that it's the weekend now. Yeah, welcome to the weekend. Hope everybody is coasting into it. Joe Pesci, Danny DeVito, and John Leguizamo. Gilbert Gottfried. What is this? This is just a list of like... This is the Halloween season. I still want to see a movie with Dolly Parton and Joan Jett where they are sisters who couldn't be more different. And they're monster slayers. Whoa. Oh, man. Kepler. Good old Kepo. He's out there with them. Only been to Florida once to see the space shuttle launch. Not your kind of place. Yeah, it's way hot and humid. Even today, it's like, what is it? It's the middle of October, and the humidity today was like 60%. Humidity today. Hurricane clips and straps on a house we just finished framing. Oh, okay. And they're monster slayers. Yeah, I'm still kind of like, I was still registering that, like Dolly Parton and Joan Jett, and they're monster slayers. Like, elaborate. Is that like monster slayers like the Lost Boys, or monster slayers like Shadow of the Colossus? What's going on here? Can't they just be like vampire hunters? Do Floridians know what snow looks like? It does, like every 10 years or something, it flurries. But no, they don't know. I've lived in snow. They don't get it. Gilbert Gottfried's character from The Adventures of Ford Fairline, a D&D bard. So I mentioned that at the start, but it wasn't the right time. How do you feel about your old raps from the old CB channel? Bring some over or tell other people about it. Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of those either got remade or just, I don't know. I kind of like just leaving those where they are. I don't want to clutter up this place any more than we already do. Buffy or Supernatural type vibes. Yeah, I can dig it. I love Dolly Parton. I'm down for anything she does. All right, gang. We're done here. I can't believe it. We're already checking ourselves out. But we are going to be hitting the road soon. So before we do, I'd like to remind everybody to please send all of your questions, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques to bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice. If you want to get yourself merch, you can do so at manshorts.com. And if you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, notably my third album, Organized Lightning, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. Thank you again to all of our patrons, super chatters, members, subscribers. Please rate the podcast on your respective platforms. Share it. We will be returning. I will be here next week, same Bard time, same Bard channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, streaming on the Man Shorts YouTube channel. The audio for this podcast will be available tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's it. That's all we got, folks. So I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend.